Last month, the Oaklawn Memorial Gardens was sold at a sheriff's auction for just $4,000. Now, families want the grounds here taken care of.
This is not right. This is sacred ground. Fix it. Make it right.
But families are unsure of what's going to happen. They're not getting answers from the new owner or the former owner who sold pre-burial packages.
My mom has bought her vault, her casket, everything out here, and now we're like, if something happens to her tomorrow, what are we going to do?
News 8 has learned that the former owner, James Delaney, has filed for personal and corporate bankruptcy, leaving his financial future uncertain. Meanwhile, families are still waiting for answers like this woman who wants to know why her father-in-law is buried in the wrong location.
Where should he be buried?
He should be over there by that plate where your cameraman is.
Recently, a new owner took over Oaklawn Memorial Gardens after a sheriff's sale.
Why does it look like this?
Now the families with loved ones buried here outside of Gettysburg are concerned about the upkeep of the cemetery and the money that people have prepaid for burial plots and vaults. Through his attorney, the new owner of the cemetery recently sent this letter to funeral directors in the Gettysburg area. It stated that legally, he is not required to continue the cemetery operations. But at the same time, he is trying to locate a licensed cemetery operator who can resume cemetery operations. But the main question remains, what happened to the money that was prepaid to the former owner for funeral services? That's what the DA and the state attorney general are investigating. When James Delaney, the former owner of Oaklawn Memorial Gardens near Gettysburg, was arrested in early July and charged with theft, arrest documents revealed details about Oaklawn's finances. Search warrants executed on Oaklawn bank accounts showed no deposits being made in the cemetery's perpetual care account dating back to January of 2011. Two other escrow accounts for prepaid funeral merchandise showed 20 withdrawals and no deposits dating back to 2010.
It does trouble me tremendously to know this type of activity was occurring for years, right under our noses, without anyone knowing about it.
But should someone have known about it? According to the state's burial grounds law, every for-profit cemetery is required to register with the State Real Estate Commission, which is part of the Pennsylvania Department of State. The cemetery is also required to file financial reports with the state and county. News 8 has learned that those financial reports have never been filed by Oaklawn. In addition, Oaklawn's registration expired in 1986. James Delaney's cemetery broker's license expired in 2010. The Department of State tells News 8 it only opens investigations based on complaints, and it's never received a single complaint about Oaklawn. However, arrest documents show that in 2015, James Delaney voluntarily met with a department investigator and at that time voluntarily turned over Oaklawn's bank records. Because all of the account limits were above the minimum levels, no suspicion was raised. It was only after search warrants were executed by police that the unusual account activity was discovered, leading to the theft charges.
I do think more vigilance should be shown in the monitoring of these cemeteries, and I hope this will serve as a lesson going forward.
No trespassing signs are keeping people out of the Rock Cemetery in Berks County. The couple that bought the cemetery in 2010 claimed they didn't realize it was active.
What they're doing to us now, it's not fair.
Now, people who have family buried here and purchased plots are being kept out. Under state law, cemetery companies that sell you burial plots or grave markers are required to register with the state. But a cemetery like this, run by a religious or a fraternal organization, is not required to register. That means records of sold burial plots and grave markers could be kept in an old binder somewhere, if they exist at all.
Pennsylvania law is in the 18th and 19th century, and we need to bring it forward to accommodate situations like this.
Rock Cemetery is in the legislative district of State Representative Mark Gillen. He's introduced legislation to set future guidelines for the sale and transfer of cemeteries and burial plots.
The dead are there. They're ours.
Cases like this are getting the attention of lawmakers and casting light on the gaps in Pennsylvania cemetery laws. In Adams County, hundreds of families were left searching for answers and money when Oaklawn Memorial Gardens was sold at sheriff's sale. Former owner James Delaney is charged with taking nearly $1.5 million. In York County, the owners of Suburban Memorial Gardens are under federal investigation, suspected of taking money from families there. Even though cemetery companies are required to register with the Pennsylvania Department of State, if the registration expires, the company only gets a letter notifying them of the expiration. Nothing else happens. According to state records, the registration for James Delaney expired in 2010, and yet he continued to operate. And financial statements for cemetery companies are not filed with the state. Instead, they must be filed in each county court.
There's a void and there's a chasm in Pennsylvania law. We need to get into the 21st century. You can't even find a common definition of burial plot.